Okay, we are live with Sister Dr. Jenna. My name is Kevin Ellerton, the founder of Meditation Magazine and Meditation University. And Sister Dr. Jenna is a true luminary in the Brahma, and she's the director of the Brahma Kumari's Meditation Museum in Washington, D.C., among many other things. She's also the host of America Meditating radio show. And today we're going to be talking about what is going on in the United States right now. We're going to be really talking about a spiritual perspective of how we can try to see through the haze of misinformation and propaganda to try to really cut through that and understand how we can see reality more clearly. And based on our perceptions of reality, how we can respond in an appropriate and helpful way. So thank you so much for joining me today, Sister Dr. Jenna. I appreciate your time and thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure, Kevin. And hello, everyone. This is going to be a really deep dive because I think many of us, whether in the United States or around the world, have a kind of a feeling of a concern about the future. And hopefully together, Kevin and I can alleviate that or inspire us to contribute more to make the future look a little bit brighter.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's a wonderful intention to set for this conversation. So I want to give you the floor for a moment to lead us, if you will, in a brief meditation, maybe just for 3 or 4 minutes, to be able to get our minds clear and so that we can approach this conversation in the best way that we possibly can.
I'd love it. Everyone take a moment. Focus your attention behind your eye. That's where you are. That's the real you. I know we live so much in our 5 senses. But when we meditate, we become conscious of our inner sense, our common sense, our spiritual essence. Take a deep breath in and out. Are you aware that your thoughts contribute to history? Are you aware that your thoughts contribute to the environment? Are you aware that your thoughts contribute to the quality of your relationships? And are you aware that your thoughts matter to you? Your thoughts, they're everything. And what if you chose at this moment to feed the thought that there's a power in you that is connected to your true sense of self? There's love, there's peace, there's purity, joy, and more than anything else, there is truth, wisdom. And that's what we must become addicted to. Thinking from that place in order to contribute to our world, country, environment, relationship, and of course the self. So I invite you to take a moment to allow your inner energy to pause deeply within. To allow your inner energy to settle at the deepest level of your truth. And when you do, you can rest assured the world is changing for the better. Take a deep breath in, breathe out, and let us take this time to contribute our thoughts together in our conversation. Thank you, Kevin, for having us start off in such a high note and an important note.
Yeah, it's so important to be able to approach this very deep and difficult conversation with clarity. And that's what the meditation can help us do, to bring clarity to our perceptions and our way of approaching reality. So, I want to give you a little bit of background on why I'm having these types of conversations with people like you and Joseph Goldstein, Marianne Williamson, and coming up some other really cool people. Um, right now, we are putting together the upcoming issue of Meditation Magazine. And by the way, I just wanted to mention that there may be like a little bit of an echo on your side when I'm talking. So if maybe you have somebody there that's adjusting the audio, just be aware of that. Okay. So when in the last issue of Meditation Magazine, it was the peace issue, and I decided that that issue needed to be called the peace issue at the beginning of 2024 because of what was going on in the world at that time. It was clear to me that the world needed peace above pretty much everything else at that moment in time in 2024. Right now, it's 2025, and the issue that we're creating for this year is going to be trying to meet the moment of what 2025 really needs. And I have been having a hard time putting my finger on exactly what that is. The reason for that is because I think there is a lot of confusion swirling around about what is actually going on in reality in this country. We know it's something important. Change is happening fast. But there are those who see this change as extremely negative. There are those who see it as extremely positive, and then there's all kinds of people in between. When I talked to Marianne Williamson, I had a couple of conversations with Marianne Williamson, who is a wonderful politician and one of my favorite politicians. She's a spiritual teacher as well, and a New York Times bestselling author. She, in my conversation with her, she was very worried about the state of our country. I would say more than worried. She's obviously clearly strongly standing up and saying this is not good. We need to stop this. Things that are happening. And in my conversation with her, I tend to play devil's advocate in general because I think that makes for more interesting and deeper conversations. So in my conversations with her, I kind of tried to say, well, change has been happening since the beginning of time. Like, is this really like so different from that change that's been happening forever? Also, maybe trying to point out some of the good things that maybe we could agree are positive that are happening, and try to say like maybe this is not all doom and gloom. Maybe there is some hope. But she did stick to her guns and was saying, we need to make a clear stand. So after that conversation with her, I thought maybe we'll call this issue the warrior issue, It would be an interesting follow-up to the peace issue. The warrior issue, standing up for what you believe in, kind of like, Arjuna and the Bhagavad Gita, taking a stand and doing what you need to do in the world. But as I continue to contemplate it, I also feel it's important to kind of see the full picture, understand all perspectives, find balance. And that's really not the same kind of thing as the warrior issue. It's very different. It leads to a different actions instead of standing up and fighting, where sitting down and contemplating and trying to get people together and uniting. And then alternatively, the change issue would be an interesting one too. How this is all a process of change forever, and change is a mark of existence, anicca. So I have these different threads in my way of thinking about this situation, and I want to get your perspective, Sister Jenna, about this. I guess that my first question is, like, how do you feel like we should approach this situation? Should we be, standing up and fighting? Should we be trying to take a stand? Should we be trying to find and understand the different perspectives? Should we be seeing it in the big picture, long-term view? Like, what do you think is a good approach for the situation right now?
This is not fair. We should have a lot more time to share on this.
Yes, I have up to 7:30 if you have that time, but I know your time is very limited.
Yeah. I want to take it from a few different places of thought. And by the way, Marianne is the best and the most authentic voice that we have in politics today. And I'd only wished that she was able to make it where her voice would be even more powerful. Maybe, let's see. Time hasn't come to a close. I've been through a lot of these emotions in the last maybe 8 or 12 years. The country has been going like that. And there's a saying in our Brahma Kumari's tradition, as is the king, so are the subjects. That speaks a lot. In other words, they play a significant role together. But I feel that if you are born to be a warrior and to fight and go out there and hear your voice, do it, but always in your activism and your protesting, include moments of absolute stillness. If 100,000 people stand silently without uttering a word, it creates such a powerful message of transformation that you will save so much energy. If you are fighting out there with your signs and you're on those stages to make a point, you must hold moments of silence. When you can gather 5, 10, 20, 100, 200,000 people to stand up for something that you feel has to give, has to change, your silence will diffuse so much of the things that you feel makes no sense whatsoever. There's something about that collective stillness that changes the way people's mindset is rooted. And if you're a person with influence or power, then you can voice your opinion and maybe make changes, even if you have to find yourself being a lot more braver than you're accustomed to being. Do it. Even if you're going to lose $1 million or two, and you've got 200 million already in your bank account, it's not a big deal. You're helping people. Your employees will give you blessings that will travel with your soul for birth after birth. And if you're just a common citizen, uninformed, but your only information comes from Fox News, CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, New Nation, whatever it is that you listen to, if you watch X, Instagram, New York Times, New York Post, Washington Post, if that's all you do and you are uninformed of the full weight of everything that's happening, strengthen yourself. Because if you just get angry and up and talk to people on the phone and just say, "Did you hear what he did today or she did today? Do you know they're doing this?" You're just adding to that vibration that you're scared of seeing and hearing. I ask you to stop that. Get informed or get strong.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because as people, we're not all going to be Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or Donald Trump. We're not all going to be these people. They're a very small percent of the population of the world. And with that said, who should I be? I have to take care of my own. I've got to strengthen my own spirit, strengthen my own being, get some information. Nowadays, when people come to me, Kevin, and they say, they're going to be doing this or this is happening, I kind of pause first and I wait and I go, why would they do that? What is behind it? I ask that question before I jump into the fire with everyone else that are just running wild and crazy. And I'll just ask, what is it about? I was with a political figure yesterday and they were from another country. And I just happened to have said, well, you guys are lucky. This administration really loves your country. And that political figure was just saying, I know, but we have to be so careful because everything is so volatile. And I thought to myself, even as I said that, and I looked at them, they were running after where the power and the money was too. It's like a disease. It's like it takes them over. And from my observation, I wouldn't say that they're thinking about the whole. They're thinking about definitely the country's power, the country's position in the world. But are they really thinking about the small guy, the little people? I don't think so. To me, they're mostly casualties in this war of the ego. So, as I mentioned to you, these three tiers, if you're going to go out there and fight and protest, you must initiate moments of silence that last for at least 5 minutes together. I'm telling you, when the powers that be that might be creating a lot of chaos feel that energy, it changes something in them because silence is golden. Be still and know that I'm God. And that's where their conscience will be touched. The second position, if you do have influence and you have the ability to make some changes, and you might lose some money, but you have a lot you can afford to lose, be brave. Stand up for what is right for the people. And for the third category of folks who might not go out to protest, or they don't have enough money, or they're just not informed because they watch all the information on the news, fix your lives, strengthen your mind, take care of your family, find some truth in the way that you're living so that you're not deceived by what mass media wants to feed into you. I stopped watching news as of last year. I have no idea what's going on out there, but people tell me and I get updated whether I want it or not.
Mm. Yeah.
It's just the climate that we're in. You're just going to get stuff you're not even asking for.
Yeah. But stopping watching the news is very interesting that you're bringing that up because this is really leads into my next sort of topic that I wanted to discuss with you, which is like, how do we perceive reality? How do we know what's real? And when I used to think that Fox News was always propaganda and CNN was reporting correctly. That's what I used to think. Then, in this past election cycle before the election in November, I remember there were several incidents that happened that were made it clear to me that the CNN and NBC and MSNBC channels were also propaganda. When when I saw there, I don't know if you remember this. There was an incident where Donald Trump used the word that it would be a bloodbath if he didn't win, and um, then the media, CNN, MSNBC, and everybody, even Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, were repeating that Donald Trump said it's going to be a bloodbath if he loses, essentially implying he's going to create some kind of a war or something, civil war, whatever it would be, violence. But then I listened to Joe, actually the Donald Trump speaking on Joe Rogan, because I think that long form conversations is where you're able to actually hear and understand truth better than from these media snippets. And he was saying, well, obviously they're taking that out of context. I was talking about the auto industry losing to Japanese auto industry, and it's going to be a bloodbath because the tariffs aren't correct. And I went and I just watched that video of his speech, and it would just took me 2 minutes to see that it's true. He was talking about the auto industry, not about some kind of violent revolution or war or something, insurrection. So when I saw that, I really lost a lot of trust in CNN, MSNBC, and the general liberal media. I've always seen Fox News as propaganda, so at this point, I see both sides as just propaganda channels that are essentially doing what they can to stir up anger in the population in order to get a tribe of people that watch them all the time and stick to them, and therefore they'll sell more advertising. That's how I'm seeing these media channels now. But and honestly, unfortunately, the social media bubbles kind of the algorithms work in a similar way. So with traditional and new media, both just serving us essentially bubbles of propaganda, how do we even know what to stand up for? How do we even know what's real, what's happening?
That's why I shared with you the importance of being informed, that don't quickly jump into everything that you hear in a snippet of 5 or 10 minutes. Do your research, get some facts, and in doing so, act. And if you don't act, dis- dispel any sort of a propaganda that is told to you that doesn't make sense. I remembered many, many years ago, do you remember 9/11? And um, I used to have a lot of influencers come over for dinner at our ashram in Maryland. And one occasion, I could not believe when I heard, I won't even mention the names of these influencers, but they were power hitters in DC. And I heard them blaming Saddam Hussein for 9/11. And I couldn't believe when I heard them saying that I actually turned to them and said, you know, Saddam Hussein wasn't behind 9/11. You knew it was something else. And it's like after a while, you keep listening to these streams of information, you stop thinking and you start to become whatever the news or the information is that you hear. And I think America and the world, they have matured on many levels to be more discerning when they listen to the news, Kevin. And I even invite you to really, at this time, be very mindful in even what you choose to listen to. Why I say that is right now, even if I turn on the news for 10 minutes, it's only of one person and what one person is doing. And that's because they have gotten the ear of people who aren't discerning, and they get ratings and they get money and they get to stay online. And I have no idea what else is happening in America except whatever one person does at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which I know is important because they're making massive changes or shaking up a system that's been in place for hundreds of years. I get it. But what I'm trying to say to everyone, I'm begging you, Stop falling for the bait that they keep handing to you or serving you or throwing out to you. It's a bait. And the moment your emotions get caught up in it, you've been caught. And the moment you're caught, you're going to go through whatever wave of emotions and fears and ups and downs they want to put you in so that you're not contributing to the society, that you're not helping the society. Because if you get intelligent, emotionally and spiritually and financially and mentally, if you get intelligent, their game is over. And if you're dumbed down, they still have an audience. Why do people not turn to, let's say, your program, Kevin? There should be a million people watching your program, reading your magazine. You work so hard for it. Your kids are looking for a future where it's sustainable and it's healthy for them. And you, as a parent, you are concerned about the well being of your children. And so I say this to everyone with experience: don't bite the bait. Get yourself informed. You know what they're up to. Don't be fooled. And continue to contribute to your community, your society, your family. How do you do it? Pay attention to what you're thinking. Pay attention to what you're saying. Pay attention to your choices. They should be able to support many people and not just one group of people, but many. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, when you talk about not biting the bait, and knowing that they're basically putting that out there for you to charge up your emotions, I agree that that is being done through a lot of especially the mainstream media is doing that, and then the algorithms are doing that in social media, like sort of just by default. But what I guess I'd like to get at is to try to understand how you said do your own research, look at the facts, find the facts, and sort of like what I did with that CNN report, and then Donald Trump said, "Oh, actually, that's not what I said," and then I went and found the video, and I'm like, "Okay, that's a fact." Okay, and then I could see that that was propaganda that I was seeing from CNN. But the problem is that then what are your sources of information besides the speech, let's say the original speech, that's the fact, that's the primary source. So I and then I can say, okay, if I just listen to this guy talking and other people talking, Donald Trump is talking, Elon Musk is talking, Marianne Williamson is talking, um, how do I know that what they're saying is something that they actually believe rather than something that they're just saying as part of their political position that gives them power? So just as an example, if you look at Elon Musk is a really good example of this. He, for a long time, seemed like a great guy that was trying to save the environment. Then recently, he's seemed like he wanted to gain power and become a dictator of some kind. But when you listen to him talk, he says, we need to, reduce the size of government in order to avoid defaulting on our national debt. We need to reduce the bureaucracy so that we can actually accomplish things like getting humanity to Mars. These things that he talks about seem relatively reasonable when you listen to him, but then you look at the actions, you say, he's dismantling government. Is he doing that for an altruistic reason, like he says he is, or is he doing it for dictatorial reasons, like media often will portray it, and possibly possibly that's real. When you look at it and you look at this type of situation, you look at this type of person, you say, is this person really trying to become a dictator and actually just gain lots of power and unscrupulously? Or is this person really trying to save humanity and just doing everything that he can to do it? And
Mhm.
it's such a polarizing question. These questions are so polarizing. People are on opposite sides of this view. Even in the meditation community, even in the spiritual community, people have very opposite views about these questions. And it's very hard to say, my view is correct. I know what's the truth. I don't know. And I take a position right now of I'm actually not sure, and I'm trying to figure it out. And so I don't know. What do you think? How do we find truth in these situations?
You know, Kevin and everyone, I think that Our life's journey is our profile. And I think if you go back in people's lives 20 or 30 years ago, there's a pattern in people. And then you can be pretty clear in terms of what the motives of an individual are or is. And you can use your common sense to look into their eyes, look at their body language, look at their choices. It's easy to look at a scam artist. It's easy to recognize that somebody's up to something. However, I think if you haven't been truthful to yourself in your own life, then it'll be very easy for you to get deceived by others. And that's that whole karmic game between souls. Whether it's a king, a president of a country, the wealthiest man in the world, an inventor, a scientist, whatever it is, whoever that person is, if you haven't cultivated your inner honesty and cleanliness of your spirit, then of course you're going to be deceived by somebody or something along the way. I can't tell you if Elon is up to anything naughty. I can't tell you if President Trump is up to anything naughty. I can't tell you if his administration is up to anything naughty. I would not ever believe or think that a person wielding power as much as many leaders do in many countries would want to destroy their country or destroy other countries for their personal gain and feel that there isn't a consequence to that decision. Um, maybe, maybe they feel there is no consequence to it. Maybe there's a feeling that if I press the red button, I go under the ground and I'm protected for a month until the nuclear radiation cools out in the air. I can't say for a fact that that's what people are up to, but what I have power over is if I clean up my act as a person, then I can choose what to invest in, to listen, to say, to contribute to. And I can choose if I want to believe what you're telling me is the truth. For example, anyone who's looking at me and you today, they will choose if whatever I'm saying carries weight or meaning. But there will be other people who might want me to do the convincing game and try to convince them this is it. And there might be some people who'd be like, I don't understand a word she's saying. Everyone's going to be different in the game. But all I can say to everyone out there and to you and everyone, I talk to myself too. I have to clean up my spirit. I have to clean up my act. I have to live a life of honesty. I have to take care of my own. I have to do charity. I have to do things that are positive and good for humanity. And just wait. If I have the ability to contribute to change, I will, but I won't, as long as I live, contribute to conversations that only talk about what CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and all of these media outlets just throw at us every single day, and just talk to people and feed my egos and attachments and fears. I won't contribute to that energy for America, let alone forget what 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is doing. What are you doing when you talk to your friends? There are people who come into our ashram or they come into the meditation museum. And the moment they start to talk about politics or what's going on in the government, stop it, not in here. That has no business here. Please don't do that here. You can do it outside. You want to change? You want to make your lives pure and powerful so that whatever comes to you, you'll be able to handle it. This is your place. This is your place. Because no matter how hard you scream, they won't hear you it will actually fuel them. The deeper you become in your silence and your stillness and your spiritual empowerment and wisdom, that they will hear. And that will make anyone who's up to anything naughty tremble, because they cannot come against that energy. They cannot do anything with that power. And you've got your meditation magazine. You've got an audience of people who believe in introspection and meditation. I am begging you more than ever before, contribute to your inner silence and power when you're walking and moving around, when you're feeding the kids, when you're working on the computer, when you're making your sales, when you're going to work. Practice this energy. When folks call you to talk about the latest breaking news, tell them, you know what, I'm tired of that. That's a drainage on my consciousness. I got to bring some God's light here. I got to bring my divinity here. I've got to bring my power here, because if I don't, they've got me.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
theirs to do whatever they want to do with me.
Yeah.
Does that
I
make sense?
understand. I wouldn't. I understand what you mean about you need to take the silence and things, in the silence and the presence and the peace, and in order to have like a clear mind and a clear perspective. But at the same time, don't we need to be having those conversations, the difficult ones, with people that we disagree with, in order to really try to understand them and understand their perspectives? I think, those conversations are the way that we can understand not only our own thoughts, but the thoughts of, that are totally different from our own, to try to help
Well,
us like
let me
smooth
jump in
out.
there and say that
Mhm.
I agree. We need to keep having conversation. You have a right to a difference of your opinion. I never told you to stop speaking. I was telling you to amplify and increase your power of inner silence,
Mm.
so that when you speak, people will hear you. Right now, when I hear people speak, it's just noise and there's no power in their speaking. But when I speak, people will hear me because I live what I say. I have that inner cleanliness. I do talk to souls, and I have faith that the future is bright, even if it's going to crumble and then become bright. I have faith about all these changes that are going to occur, but I will not lose my purity or cleanliness as a soul. The soul is on a journey. And if politics and the condition of America changing, America isn't innocent. As a civilization of individuals, have we become better as spiritual people? People from all over the world come to this country not to find God, not to find their spirituality, to make money, to thrive, to have a living. And so when you're asking from America to be spiritually graceful in the midst of its corporate takeover as a country, then what are you saying? Okay, so it's time that America wakes up to its spirituality. And that's why you're doing shows like this. But I don't want to get into that era and that kind of a conversation of stuff. I'll give you another point, everyone. I did a talk show called Soul Talk on the Hill. I'm the only person in a white sari that goes on Capitol Hill, meet with all the senators and congresspeople and talk about their spiritual side. They let me in. I don't know anybody else who has been given permission to do that. Number two, I've been in the White House for all the presidents, Republican, Democrats. Fine. I'm there to bring my light. There are things that I agree on and things that I don't. Fine. I'm here to bring light to the world. I'm here to make this country benefited and uplifted. And I have to keep my light and my divinity and grace and honesty as a person if I want to make America the best. And that's why I'm trying to say every citizen in this country, you have a responsibility for raising the vibration of this country. And the more you challenge or argue and fight and go into breaking news and take sides, the moment you take one side over another, it's still an imbalance. It's still what we call in the Brahma Kumaris Maya. It's an influence of the past. It still wastes thoughts, negativity. You're still not at that highest level. So I've tried my best, whether it's through the Trump leadership, when I've been in that White House, the Biden leadership, been in that White House, the Clinton, Barack, Trump before, been all of those White Houses. Where's the good here? I look for it. Where can I contribute? That's my business. And I think if every American begins to really focus on where they can contribute, first in their families, then in their neighborhoods, then in their city, and then their state, the country's going to make it.
Mhm.
And that's why this is not about CNN, NBC, Fox News anymore, or only about 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This is our time as Americans to actually finally go into our spiritual power, our divinity of presence, our strength of character, and begin to redo ourselves in ways that maybe we've never even seen before. And I feel that this is such a powerful time for America to shine bright. Why I started America Meditating Radio is that from America, I wanted America to be the hub where we can start to spread spirituality and wisdom and grace and light and positivity throughout the whole world. That's why I started that radio show.
Mhm.
So that America
Yeah,
can finally have an image that it has some spiritual light there, that there's something in America that is spiritual.
yeah, yeah. I think that that's a great radio show that you started, and that getting America meditating is a great way to build a better society from the ground up. And that's what it sounds to me like you're talking about is grassroots, growing from the ground up, spiritual or compassion. These things that we need in our society, we can grow them on an individual by individual basis, on a family by family basis. And I think that that's a really important thing. But I also think that the top-down decisions that are made on the big level can be it's important for us, I think, to be able to see clearly what's happening, whether whether you believe it's good or you believe it's bad, it's good to be able to see reality as it is. And the reason that I bring that up is because I grew up in a Jewish household and in Jewish schools. One of the biggest things that they always told us was, your grandparents' generation, my grandparents' generation, went through this genocide, a Holocaust, and it was because when the Nazis came to power, good men sat by and did nothing. Right? They used those lines, and that if the only thing needed for evil to flourish is for good people to do nothing. And I always contemplated that as a child. I always thought that it made a big effect on me. I thought, if terrible things start happening, I need to, stand up. I can't be like one of those people in Germany in the 1940s who just sat by and did nothing while the Nazis killed all of my grandparents' families. Um, so when I think about that, I think about what's happening right now, and I talked to Marianne Williamson, and she says it's the echoes of the 1940s are here. We're seeing, the dissolution of democracy and the, intentional dismantling of our society in order to create dictatorship. You mentioned, you don't think that, or you don't like to think that people in power would destroy their country. I don't see it as destroying. I see it as more of taking over, the way that Maduro took over, or Chavez and Maduro took over in Venezuela, and in Cuba was taken over by the Castros, and Russia by Putin. They take
But I
over to
want
be
to say
supreme power.
it's not just that one person, Kevin. It's been a buildup of the people in a society that took over their households. Maybe husbands who wouldn't give their wives a voice to speak. It's the bully in school. It's the it's the child who walks around that's been abused by a relative and never spoke up, and that energy is festering in him or her, and that's going in the society without any
Mhm.
sort of a release. It is not just this one person or this government. It is all of those little miniature moments where perhaps you and I felt our ego was more important than the person's feelings. That builds a dictator. That builds a system of people who want to control people and put them in place because over a period of time, quietly in societies and people around the world, there's been this behavior in people. But they kept it, it was there, but nobody saw it until now it's manifested in images of people that we think, oh, they. No, not they. They cannot get there without you. So, as a society, over a long period of time, we've been creating this monstrous situation that we're in as a country. Every time we shut someone up, every time our ego wins a fight, every time there's attachment or greed or jealousy or judgment or criticism or comparison or disappointment, every time, as an average person in the world, you feed those emotions, those feelings in the soul, you are creating the monster. Do not blame the monster for stepping on the stage and trying to silence you. Look within yourself and see how many times you silenced somebody who was trying to do good, or you silenced somebody who made you feel inferior in your marriage, in a situation. It's a collective energy, Kevin, and everyone. And that's why I was asking you, please look inside of yourself and clean up your act first. I personally feel that if you and I do the hard and dirty work of atoning for our own impurities of mind, do you know how many people actually watch pornography? Even on Capitol Hill, some of the members of Congress was caught watching it while they're on the floor to vote. There are people indulging in pornography that are children that are 13, 14 because it's at access for them. Where's that energy going? How does that energy create? What does it manifest? Monsters. Monsters. Child trafficking or sex trafficking is the sixth largest money making industry in the world. The black web is doing a whole bunch of dirty things with leaders all around the world. Massive monies passing through there. It's a collective energy in the minds of people where people's personality have become so corrupted with an acronym that I use called ALGE: anger, lust, greed, attachment, ego. That's what creates dictators, monsters. So whether you look at Germany or all these countries throughout the world, Alexander the Great, Mussolini, it's endless. It's not just them, it's the mindset of the people. And that's why, if as people we change ourselves, they don't exist. They have no power. So, if the people can purify their inner personality, they're out of business
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
that quality of energy in people's personality is what will rule the world.
Yeah. That's a
Reaches
very
climax of
deep
the
thing.
end of what they call in Hindu mythology the end of Kali Yuga, an Iron Age, where algae, the five vices, will self-destroy itself. But what's left behind? What's
Hmm.
going to be the continuation of life? Because life never dies and nothing really ends forever. So you need a civilization of people with clean hearts, pure minds, good character, nobility, integrity, strength of spirit. That's me. That's you. That's people who are willing to invest in what's right for all the things that humanity has stood for at the beginning of time. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm making this plea. It is your job to clean up your act first. And once you become completely pure in your spirit and really clear in your motives and intentions, a dictator, a wannabe dictator, a hater, whatever it is they're out there doing, will be powerless.
Yeah. That's a very powerful perspective. And it is empowering to know that, we can start with ourselves in order to make to effect change in the world, and that it all starts with us, and that the dictators are created essentially as a symptom of the society's psychic malfunctions or whatever you call it. The that the society creates the leader just as much as the leader creates the society. However, there's also just, and I want to maybe wrap up on this question here. There are times like in Germany with the Nazis, and in Cuba with Castro and things like that, and Russia with Putin. There are times when the society shifts sharply because a leader or a monster or whatever you want to call it has arisen that is able to essentially take all the power. And in those times, yes, that leader was created, and that monster was created by the society and by the people and by the traumas and the individuals that were not willing to look inside and not meditate, and were perpetuating these problems in the society. And yes, that in the long term, it's best if we all work on ourselves to not create these types of leaders in the future. But there are times when there's a turning point in a society or in a history where sometimes you need to take action. And right now, what I'm struggling with is that it is hard for me to see when I look at both sides of propaganda and I try to dig into all the facts and I try to look at all the primary sources, and it's just a very muddled, confusing thing to try to disentangle the truth of reality, to know what should I be taking, what actions should I take right now to either, do I need to take actions, or maybe I don't need to take these types of political actions. Maybe, obviously working on myself, working on my soul, my spirit, and helping other people do that. These are obviously very helpful things that I can do in the long term. But in this moment, in this political moment, in this moment of history, um, if I'm going to take, and then those actions, those times when you need to stand up to the Nazis to stop them, the times that you need to stand up to the dictators to stop them from taking over. Um, and there are times the United States went to war with Germany in order to stop the Nazis from taking over more of the world and to stop them from doing what they were doing. They had to make those decisions based on having a somewhat clear vision of reality. And by the time that the Nazis were, by the time the United States went to war with them, it was very clear they had concentration camps. They were killing lots of people. That was very obvious what was happening at that point. But sometimes it's too late. And at that point, I would say it's even too late at that point. How do we perceive what's going on now to be able, do we say this is a potentially catastrophic, urgent situation that we need to stand up and take serious action? Do we say we wait and see?
I hear you. Um, there will be casualties along the way. It's part of nature. But if you recall historically, they were never able to continue. Yes, maybe America got in and other countries got in, and maybe they got in too late. 6 million Jews were decimated. Nobody wants that. Energetically, there's some karmic energy going on globally that our tiny intellects might not be able to do the math for all this energy to work out the way that it is. However, I don't want you to ever feel doubtful of the power of inner stillness. I'm still doing my work, but I'm still inside. That's what I'm trying to point out to you. I'm only still inside because I choose not to let my intellect get corrupted by waste information and propaganda and the games of people. My 20s, boss was drunk with authority. I knew he had it out for me. My intuition knew this was not a friend, this was an enemy. So you know what I did? Turned up my game of doing good karma, good actions, knowing that my good deeds will be my protection. Long story short, he couldn't harm me as much as he tried. As much as he tried to get me out of the company, he couldn't succeed because my good karma protected me. So, what I'm asking you to tell society and the citizens out there, you've got to start to believe that your powerful actions of good with your inner stability, with your inner peace as a person, where your God energy, your Allah energy, if you don't believe in God, your good energy is amplified. It's got to get more stronger than the evil out there. So even if you vote in a person who is like a Hitler or this or Castro or whatever, you still was a part of it. Everybody's a part of it. Anyone who contributed to algae creates a monster. Everybody. And so when you realize what you've created, then you can atone for it and make a change. So now you realize, oh, what did I do? Then you go inwards and you start to, I don't want to use this word, but forgive, repair, heal, understand, accept. But then you start to do 10 times more better and 10 times more good than you did before. I know it seems maybe simple in terms of the cure for society's ailments, but it is that simple. If every American chooses to become clean and pure in their spirit, there will be no dictator. Is that so hard?
Hmm.
If you want the leadership of a country to change and the people can carry on the way that they always have, it's never going to work. But if you start to throw the responsibility on the people to make a transformation and to rise up out of this nightmare, they don't have a voice. They only have a voice because you're scared. They only have a voice because you don't know who you are. They will only have a voice because you too are corrupt. If you clean out internally your world, they, no one, nothing will have power over you. It's the law. It's just the law, Kevin. I can't help to tell you that. It's the law.
Hmm.
They won't have power over you.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, no matter what you think, if you build your inner world where you make the energy of the divine your sole support, as you go to work and you cook and clean and you go out and protest, you tell everybody, chant Om,
Hmm.
sit in silence, stay quiet for 5 minutes. You will see it will make a much stronger impact than your yelling and screaming on the stage.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And thank you so much for everybody who's watching. Thank you, Sister Jenna, for being here today. Thank you, Sister Circle of Life Healing Arts, for your comments, which I've shared on the screen. I appreciate your
Now,
time. And I, go
do I
ahead.
have
Did you
like
want
30 seconds?
Sure, sure. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah. We have a couple more minutes if you wanted to end on something.
My mother was a saint. She passed away a year ago. And this book, I did it in her honor. It just got released. And I want you to read, I want you to hear this thing on honesty. It's honesty with the self. The first kind of honesty is honesty with yourself. If you are honest with yourself, there will not be any situation in which you are not honest with others. If someone does not believe you, if someone distrusts you, perhaps it's a sign that you need to become more honest inside. Instead of blaming others, realize this and look at how to become more honest. Honesty and clarity go together. Honesty does not mean simply speaking your mind, it means to be very clear about everything going on inside. Whether there is honesty, honest feelings become pure and clean with them. There are no other thoughts or feelings other than those that God Himself would have. Such clarity will be reflected in your words. They will be filled with the power of truth and spoken with ease without hesitation. The genuine honesty cultivated within you will reach out and touch others. I
Hmm.
tell you guys, please do this for yourself. you're going to feel the difference of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Jenna. I appreciate your time today and sharing your beautiful, powerful spiritual perspective on how we can relate to what's going on in the world right now and how we can contribute to a better world through our own inner work and uh, our families, helping our families and our communities and from the ground up. I appreciate your wisdom and your time, and I thank you very much for being here. This conversation will be there will be excerpts in the new magazine that's coming out this year, which will maybe be called the Warrior issue, or maybe be called the Change issue, or the Balance issue, depending on how these conversations go. So this one has contributed to what the new issue is going to be as a whole. I hope that you have a beautiful evening there in Washington, and that you have a beautiful day and beautiful evening. Bye, everyone.